Today I'm going to do a quick build for Vader's life support controls. Roll the list! For this build, I used EVA foam, craft foam, half-cylinder foam, coffee foam, paint, super glue, hot glue, cutting tools, sanding tools, safety gear, scissors, razor pens, and a box cutter. So eagle-eyed viewers in my previous Vader build noticed some discrepancies with the chest box because of course they did. It's actually just an X-Wing control box painted black. And you know what, it bothers me too. So let's get started on a new one. Gonna start by pulling some templates off the X-Wing flight suit box. Those are available down below in the video description, by the way, if anybody wants them. Even if you're an experienced foam smith, templates are always a time saver, as we shall soon see. Ooh, foreshadowing. Next, I cut that out and traced it onto foam 4 times. I was able to get away with using the side template for the top and bottom as well, because unlike the X-Wing life support controls, Vader's is perfectly square. When I was finished tracing, I cut them out with the scissors, making sure to cut that at an angle so that there wouldn't be any ugly gaps in the seams. Next, I stuck them together with super glue. Once the frame was complete, I used it to figure out the dimensions of the top and bottom panels and cut them out. This time I'm using a razor pen at an angle of about 45 degrees, roughly. The cut will come out a lot better with the razor pen than the scissors. I just wanted to show that you can technically use both. Though I'm really trying not to do any sanding in this video. There's a lot of wet paint over by the belt sander right now. Just don't want to kick up any dust. Then I glued in the top piece with super glue because it's too cold to use contact cement right now. Anything that I work with that gives off fumes, I like to do that outside. Oh, hey, shop tip, carbon monoxide detectors. For real, they cost like nothing and will save your life, eventually. Or at least tell you when you need a new furnace. For the vertical cylinders on either side, you could accomplish that by sanding a trench with the narrow rotary tool bit, and then burying thin wooden dowels about halfway, but again, trying to avoid sanding. So I'm going to use half-cylinder bevels and wrap them in 2mm craft foam strips in order to get the width variation. As I glued those on and was able to put it into some kind of visual context for my brain, I realized that the edges were looking a bit too flat, essentially making the whole thing more like a picture frame. I suppose if you found the exact perfect picture frame, then you could get away with building it like that instead. But I'm in too deep with the foam method, so I cut notches out of the corners and re-glued them to increase the height of the box. Don't worry, I added that change to the templates. See, this is what I'm talking about. Templates help you avoid mistakes. I'm gonna save those offcuts because it's an interesting shape. I do that a lot, saving the offcuts, and that allows me to be lazy on future projects when I need to greebly something. What? You need a million random doodads? I couldn't possibly, or could I? Nailed it. Look like sci-fi arrowheads. I'm gonna use those for Ripley's harpoon gun. Okay, hang on. This has been bugging me my entire life. Sidebar, can we just address for a second that it is absolutely preposterous that there's a harpoon gun on a spaceship? Why? What possible purpose could that serve? Why on a spaceship where they're all about not having anything that could possibly pierce a spacesuit would they have a pointy stabby thing? Make a video about that alien theory. What is happening on the Nostromo? Is it a whale oil refinery? Is that the big ridiculous gothic thing that is dragging along through the cosmos? Do future hyperdrives run on whale oil? Is the Nostromo hunting space whales? Oh no, Moya, run! Fly, starburst! And John Crichton is safe for another day. Alright, random franchise sidebar complete. Now because it wants to bow out of the sides, I need to add a back panel as well, just to hold the walls in place. You might be able to get away with the crossbeam, but yeah, you might, and that's actually more work for something that might not work than just cutting a flat backing for it, you know? There's no need to over-engineer these things. Okay, there we go. Now I can start adding the rest of the details to the front, beginning with the bevel strips. Like I said before, these were cut from 2mm craft foam. You have to do this very carefully if you use super glue, because if you make a mistake, then there's no coming back from it. You're basically gonna destroy the 2mm foam and have to do a lot of cleanup work on your main piece. When this was done, I made square buttons. I'm using white foam left over from the Kenobi build, or possibly R2, because it will reflect the colored paint much better than the standard gray. It's kind of like its own base coat. For the 3 details on the other side, I cut strips of triangle bevels that I got from a store that will not get an endorsement until I get some kind of compensation. You know what you did. Now those details are a little more complex than just triangles. So I cut the ends to be slanted and the tops to be flat. Then I cut up some scrap 1/2 inch thick floor mat foam for the toggle switches. I love cutting up 1/2 inch thick floor mat that foam. It always cuts so much better than every other type of foam. See, look at that sideways cut. Oh, so good. I mean, in all fairness, the blade was sharpened like crazy beforehand, but it is not by any means a new blade at all. Like half a year I've been using this blade. Invest in a knife sharpener. Like if you're having trouble getting good clean cuts from EVA foam, just get a knife sharpener. You're gonna save so much money on blades. I'd never get a cut that clean from 3/8 foam sheets. Am I getting too nerdy about this? I'm building a Darth Vader costume. I think we're past that point by now. I did that 4 more times and checked the alignment on the panel. Then I glued all the details on one by one with super glue. Did I say 4 more times? I meant 3 more times. Four times in total is what I'm trying to say. When they were all attached, I painted the red parts red and cheaped out the Sharpie on the green. Where did my green paint go? I gotta clean this shop. Then I did a poor man's heat seal by running over every surface of the prop with my heat gun. This seals up the top layer of the foam so that I don't need to do quite as many layers of paint later. Having said that, I still have to do a bunch of layers of paint using gloss black acrylic. This is a lot of footage time lapse. So how about some meandering dialogue? Yeah, no one's gonna click through that. So I always wondered what was up with the random switches on Vader's costume. I mean, like it's a combat thing, right? So why would you have exposed buttons that could affect whether you live or die out in the open like that? Someone could literally push your buttons. But I've been watching the show For All Mankind. It's called For All Mankind. The show's title is For All Mankind. It's not like I'm watching the show for the benefit of the entire human species. I got this, world. You need not be exposed to a potentially terrible show. You're welcome. I'm a hero, is what I'm saying. I'm some schmuck on the couch eating potato chips. It's a good show. Would have used different music though. It's about an alternate history of the space race, and all of the spacesuits I'm noticing, regardless of which agency it is, have these really awkward control boxes mounted on the chest. And it dawned on me, Vader's suit is a combat spacesuit. So that's clearly a costumer is drawing from real life and making it sleeker and more functional. Like he's looking at the cutting edge technology of the day, 1977, and looking ahead. And I would say, you know, that looks very late 80s. So he did his job. It's actually brilliant when you look at the old Soviet suits. My God, I can't believe they beat us to space with those. When the black paint dried, I masked off all of the edges of the parts that needed to be silver with blue masking tape. Then I used silver rub and buff to make all the silver parts look silver. Go figure. Sometimes I wonder why I narrate. And now because it's Star Wars, the paint scheme changes depending on what movie you're watching, which I don't really consider to be a mistake, like a continuity error so much as, you know, updating the technology. I mean, how many times have you had to update your phone? At any rate, I'm doing Rogue One New Hope Kenobi version, which is just one metal switch and a green light instead of a blue. The rest are 3 silver and a red. Rub and buff dries pretty fast, so I was able to peel off that tape almost immediately after applying the finish. And then I did a few of the nooks and crannies with a Q-tip. Then I cut holes in the back for straps. I threaded the straps through. Oh hey, this tool is perfect for getting random foam pieces out of the inside of your project. Also guitar picks. Oh, and elastic waistband straps, or hoodie straps, hoodie ropes, you know, the long shoelace thing. Look at that. Look at that tool coming in handy. This is just, everybody should have one of these, regardless of whether you build props or not. And then I added straps using some map bag straps from some garbage map bags that I picked up at Goodwill. Goodwill is a trap for cosplayers, prop makers, and hoarders. Usually those are all 3 of those are the same person. I dropped off a box of sweatshirts thinking, oh good, I'm getting rid of some stuff, and then made the mistake of going inside and walking out with an equivalent amount of stuff, really more stuff, technically, by weight anyway, and I don't really need it, but oh, look at all the stuff that I could use to make my life better until it breaks because it's garbage. Look at that pencil holder. It looks like a Death Star Detention Center comms device so I can have boring conversations. What am I doing? Right, making a video. I attached the straps and that was it. Then I added it to my Vader ensemble and was ready to strangle some non-believers. Hey, thanks for watching everybody. If you're still confused by my rambling, then you can check out the template link below to get a hold of the patterns. If you're somehow watching this video first, I've got more videos for the various parts of the Vader costume, including the shoulder armor, the helmet, which you can build a regular or battle damage. I like battle damage, except that I've got a bunch of wires poking me in the face. That was a mistake. I really gotta do something about about that resistor. Literally, it just gets hotter and hotter. When you start to smell burning beard hair, that's when you know you get, okay, it's time to take off the costume. Also got a build for his lightsaber and a whole bunch of other Star Wars stuff. Once again, I'd like to thank the patrons who make these videos possible. If you'd like to join them, it'd go a long way for me to just do the whole build all at once, you know, just cover the entire costume in one video and in a timely fashion, as opposed to parting it out like this, you know, rather than taking months or even years. Looking at you, Hydra Stomper. Looking at you. In the meantime, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload. Subscribe, like, all that jazz, all of the standard YouTuber things to say, and that's it. Happy crafting, see you later.